I want to take a moment to deal with this "you're transphobic" accusation, an accusation that came about from Anarcho-Pac after I called them out for doxing me, doing pig work. So therefore, you're transphobic. I think it's important to say that a cis person cannot speak for the trans community, nor would I think that that's something that I can do, and I have never attempted to do so. I did want to first give solidarity to one trans person in particular, Piper Tompkins, who did an interview with a bread tuber who completely insulted this trans person and dismissed them in a very insulting manner. The point Piper Tompkins was trying to make is that capitalism is... They didn't exactly use these words, but essentially that's what the gist of I got what they were saying. That it was capitalism is the primary contradiction, and the person, and I kicked myself, I can't remember who it was. It wasn't Vosh. Yes, it was the guy formerly known as Pig Puncher. And the argument that he made, while completely dismissing everything that the trans person was saying, not even answering it, dismissing it. It'd be one thing to have a counter argument, but it's another to just dismiss it in general. Saying that you should vote blue no matter who. I'm not kidding. He literally said that. I will link to a podcast by... the Ewok guys, where they actually talk about that, and it's a long podcast. It's like 40 minutes, but it's wholly well worth watching, and it is very entertaining, and it makes very valid criticisms of BreadTube in general. The crux of his argument was Biden is closer to our beliefs than Trump is, so we should vote for the Democrats even if it's Biden. No. That's not how revolution works. That's not how it works at all. I don't think I really have to explain why. I know goddamn well I don't have to explain to an anarchist that's why. I don't think I have to explain it to anyone else either. Why voting for Biden does not forward revolutionary potential. I'm not entirely certain of the argument that he was trying to make there. Okay. The point is, a lot of people, including some of those in BreadTube, are trying to act like gatekeepers. Now, I've never claimed to be a gatekeeper of anything, and certainly not the trans issue. That's something that shouldn't be allowed. Now, there are certain people on social media who like to do that, and I have watched them shout down lumpen trans people trying to speak out, trying to essentially investigate what it means to be trans. And how does this differ from other things like gender fluid, gender questioning, etc. And I think there's a lot of unanswered questions in those fields, and I don't 100% understand everything in there myself. I'd be nothing short of a fool to think that I know everything and act like a gatekeeper who has the kind of ultimate truth, when we all know bloody well that the question has not been fully investigated and has not been solved in any way, shape, or form. So having said that, those gatekeepers which are shouting them down from being able to talk, other trans people, and a lot of them lumpen trans people, that don't have the privilege of being able to sit on social media all day accusing people of things, people who want to engage in real legitimate discussion who are trans themselves, I think I've hit that point more than once, want to be able to speak. So let me make this clear. I am against transphobia. I am against an irrational fear, that's what a phobia is, of trans people. I do not hate trans people. I don't think that they're bad or anything. I think there's still a question of trying to figure fully out what it means to be trans. I think there's still a public debate that needs to be taken place. But this in no way justifies any violence against trans people. That is unacceptable. It is not okay to carry out violence against trans people for merely being trans. And trans people have every right to defend themselves from violence being carried out against them. That's the same human right that anybody has, the right to defend themselves from any violence being carried out against them. It's no different in this regard. Self-defense is a human right. It's not specifically a trans right, but it's a human right. And I think we can all pretty much agree on that. Now, I've never attacked the trans community. I told the story of a woman that I know that was attacked by a person who was at least claiming to be trans. I don't know if they were trans or not. But they did kick open the door on her when she was changing in Target and proceeded to humiliate her. All I did was speak about that situation, and I was called transphobic for it. It's very interesting that a woman can sit there and be humiliated, and if you criticize that, or even just tell people that it happened, it's transphobic. It's not. I'm defending a woman who's been victimized by a person at the very least. Who knows? They could have been a person pretending to be trans just to be an asshole in this situation. Or they might have been legitimately trans and a bad person. Not a bad person because they're trans, but who is a bad person who is also trans. There's shitty gay people, there's shitty straight people, there's shitty black people, shitty yellow people, shitty white people. There's shitty people all over the place. Particularly in the ruling class. I think the point here is that trans people are still trying to defend themselves, to define themselves. What does it mean to be trans? Some question biology, some question gender roles. I fully support questioning gender roles. I think that there are characteristics to my personality that would be considered feminine. I reject the notion that these are feminine and that they are just characteristics that a person has. I think that a person's personality and perhaps their gender expression is more complicated than it has been defined by previous generations. I am all for questioning the status quo. That's kind of the point of what I do here and have been doing for the last 11 years. It's hard to claim that I don't care about trans people or hate trans people when my whole video on the sex trafficking ring in Arizona, Midnight Productions, their primary source of these sex slaves, essentially, were homeless trans teens, primarily homeless trans teens. Okay, so they're the primary victims. And I'm one of the first people to ever speak up about what's going on. And that's because a lot of the people there in those communities are terrified of them because they keep killing people. And it's a lot easier for me, someone who's in a completely different country, to be able to say something. I'm a lot safer than they are. But the point is, someone had to say it. And if I didn't care, if I hated trans people, I wouldn't have gone through that. I wouldn't have done all that. Now, I didn't do it because they were trans. I did it because I think human traffickers are the scum of the earth and that there's a special place in hell reserved for them. So I'm not trying to say I'm a hero or something. I would have done this if they were gay. I would have done this if they were straight. I would have done this if they were children, adults, the elderly, anyone. The sex traffickers are a definition that you're not allowed to use on YouTube anymore. I think that would be suffice to express my feelings toward those kinds of people. I mean, I have other similar beliefs too. I believe that everybody to some degree or another is bisexual. I believe that sexuality is fluid. I'm bisexual myself. Now, I don't talk about that. I don't do like a lot of people on BreadTube and just make endless videos about that. Because I think that my sexuality is my business. and nobody else's business. If it's consenting adults, everybody else can just frig off on that. That's my business. I think there's a lot in history that shows that. I mean, you could look at the Greeks, you could look at the Roman orgies, all kinds of stuff like that. You could also look at people who are completely straight, manly men beyond all thing, and they start getting into the mountains as cowboys, and then, stuff starts happening. Completely straight, and then they go to jail, and, stuff starts happening. A lot of it is situational. And then when forced into a group of all men, these homosexual thoughts come up. And it's situational. It comes up as a result of the conditions that they're in. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think it just is. And that human sexuality is far more fluid than we have previously thought about in past generations. So I hope this actually clarifies my position on trans. I mean, the previous video I did years ago already explained that. I said specifically that trans people were suffered from oppression. They suffered from violence. They had a right to defend themselves. They had a right to, I didn't say it back then, but I should say it now, had a right to try to figure out how to define themselves. And I think that's all perfectly okay. Because this idea that I'm transphobic is frankly unacceptable. It's bull. So when someone asks for evidence that I'm transphobic, the only thing they can point to is what happened with an anarcho-pack when I was mean. Because I was doxxed. And that's... Yeah, you know what? I think I kind of do have a right to retaliate after having, my personal information put out there. So... I hope this finally puts down this often repeated lie, which I suspect is largely perpetuated by people who either just don't like me personally, period, and in which case, whatever, and people who just don't like the idea of third worldism in general and would rather attack the man because they couldn't debate me on the issue to begin with. If you don't agree with third worldism, you don't agree with it. That's fine. But it's quite another to go to the extreme of attacking me personally, going to an ad hominem, because you can't debate the issue. So, again, hopefully this puts an end to all this accusation of transphobia nonsense, because there's a lot of things going on in the world right now, particularly with the coronavirus right now. And a lot of these things need more attention. And we particularly do need BreadTube to make more videos on the coronavirus and the resulting situation, which is one of the things brought up by that podcast that I will link that in the description, and I think it's important that people watch it. So hopefully that puts it to bed. Thank you for watching. Have a good day. Rate, comment, subscribe, share on various social media. Thank you for watching. If you like this program, then please head over to my Patreon page and set up a monthly donation. It's your donations that keep this program running. Also, if you would like, please rate, comment, subscribe, and share in various social media.